Right, welcome to episode number 5 of the Stickmen podcast. Me and Rene are here again, recording on a Saturday today, which is a change. Usually we record every Friday, but yeah, we decided to just do it today. How's your week been, Rene?
Oh, it's been alright. It's nice to record this on a Saturday after not doing anything for the whole day.
Yeah,
It's nice to be rested for a change. And yeah, the week was nice. Everything has been quite alright. I went to a funeral on Friday though.
good.
That's a bit
good start to the week. Yeah,
interesting. It was not bad. It was just very different to. I've never been to a funeral here in Finland, so
Yeah.
it was quite an experience. It's never a nice thing.
No.
So it's always like a sad, even if it's not someone that you were close with. Like it's a weird vibe where
for sure. Yeah,
even if you don't know the person, it's like you know what's the vibe in a funeral kind of phase. Like interesting, but
yeah. You mentioned briefly when you said you went, it was quite a little bit more awkward than funerals obviously always are, but a bit more awkward the fact that obviously it was in a different language sort of thing.
yeah, that is it is interesting. It's a bit funny though, because I always say I don't speak Finnish. I speak enough that I can go by. I understand quite a lot, almost everything, especially if people are not speaking to me directly.
Yeah.
I know I can follow a conversation. I can speak, and I can speak almost about any topic. But for some reason, when people ask something directly from you, especially on a larger group, you kind of panic,
Yeah,
and then you don't understand what they're saying. And this with my girlfriend's family, and I usually have no problem in those kind of situations. But yeah, the language is a big issue. It makes things a bit more awkward and
Yeah.
a bit. It's very hard to. You can read people in any language, right? Like no matter. I've lived here in Finland, here in Germany, in Mexico, and all the people I've met. Even if you don't know the language, you can tell what kind of mood they have. With
yeah,
I think humans are quite universal, despite whatever language you speak.
yeah.
But it still makes it very weird. It's like the language barrier is an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it must be as well. I've thankfully not been to a funeral in Finland yet, and but I imagine when going to a funeral is relatively awkward at the best of times. Like you say, more, especially when it's not someone you're super close to. So because obviously you just they're just awkward situations, aren't they? Really, sort of thing. And then when you're in a different culture as well, it can just I can't imagine that would be a bit of an interesting one. My week wasn't quite the same, but you saw that I tried a really spicy hot wing. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh man, I was very surprised because I've been in that same place.
Right.
I went to CP Bacon,
Yeah.
and usually I go with a group of Mexicans. We go maybe like once every few weeks to eat somewhere, and everyone eats quite a lot of spice. I think I eat quite a lot of spice, and we usually order each our own plate, and then one of those kamikaze ones in the center, and we just grab one. And even for me, I think I would have to power through to eat
really?
like a plate.
Right. Yeah.
I can have one
a plate of those wings.
one very easily,
Yeah.
but like I think I will have to power through.
Yeah, they're pretty tough, right? Yeah.
So I was surprised because I know you are not like
Yeah.
the fondest of like.
No, it was funny. Like it was
Spice.
last minute. I told you my friend Pete is going to come on the podcast potentially sometime next week. I don't know whether we'll do one in the week when you'll probably be working, or we'll get him on for the Friday or something down the line. But my friend Pete will come on. He's a great guy, and his friend Gaz from England was in town, and long story short, they invited me there for wings, and we went to Supervaco, and I just ordered they come in different heats or flavours, but I quite like the sweet barbecue one there, which is not it's only like a 2 fire or whatever spice, but I really like it. I had that, and when we saw this the kamikaze wing, I've been watching a lot of this. Have you seen the guy on YouTube? It's called Beard Meets Food.
I think so. It sounds familiar. I've probably seen it.
I'm just kind of fascinates me. It's sort of like I went through a phase, going off on a bit of a tangent already, but went through a phase when I was living in LA of watching Man versus Food.
I love the show. Yeah.
And I fucking loved it. And the reason I got into it was because when you have Netflix in different whatever country you're in, you get that region's Netflix. So I had a Netflix subscription from the UK, but when I got in LA, they had different shows. I was like, oh, what's this? Click on it. I used to watch it all the time. Loved it.
It's great.
So these like eating challenges things.
It's also in Mexico we don't have many of those,
Right.
like food challenges, and here in Finland I haven't seen many.
No.
It's like, because many of those challenges you are like, that's insane.
Yeah.
But many of those you are like, I could do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely, and that was the thing. So so I got into the Mammoth food, and then anyway, randomly out of nowhere, the last couple of weeks, this beard meets food, which is the same thing, but some British lad that does it. He's a super skinny guy, massive beard, like that's his whole thing. And he goes around he goes around the States, goes around, and he just takes on these challenges. And a lot of what he does is he'll get like Twitter or somebody will recommend him, oh, you need to do this one, you need to do this one. So his content pretty much writes itself. Anyway, so he did that, and it wasn't. I went to this when we went to Superfake, and then we see on the side there's a challenge, and I was just like, what is it? You just got to eat one hot wing, and you get a diploma. I've got a diploma. You've seen it out of the kitchen, but I thought, yeah, why not? We'll give it a spin. So we ate the food first. Only me and Gaz were going to do it, and he wanted to grab it straight away and do it. And I said that just seems stupid because we're going to eat a meal. I don't know how bad it is, but I was like, if it's pretty bad, we want to eat first and then.
So what's the challenge?
The challenge is just eat one kamikaze.
One wing.
One wing. Yeah. You just have to eat one, and if you eat one, you get a diploma, which says basically in Finnish, congratulations, you've completed the task, and your name and the date.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just.
I'm just curious because we've ordered an order of kamikaze. I don't know if they have changed it now, that they made it extra spicy or something.
I have no idea. I get the impression it's a relatively new challenge.
Okay, yeah, because I haven't heard of it.
The way that they sort of almost advertised it to us, even though there was a little plaque on the like a little notice on the table, suggests that they've only just decided let's do this challenge. So we did it, and me and Gaz did it at the end, and it was hot. Like it was a very hot wing, but. Like I say, I'm not like a massive spice eater. I'm not like I can handle spice generally, but
that's why I was surprised when I saw it on Instagram, kind of thing. Like, what the hell?
But I'm not the kind of guy that when I go for, I don't order really hot all the time and all that sort of stuff. And I remember sort of brings me to the story when you and I had that burrito from that Mexican truck down at Laboratory.
Oh, bro, yeah.
And basically, me and Rene ordered this burritos from, I can't remember the...
Bad Hombres.
Yeah, and Rene was like, I know the guy, they're
Mexicans,
and it's really good food. It's really good Mexican food. It's like, fine. We go there, we both order a burrito, but they ask us for how hot we want it, and I say not keep mine mild basically, and Rene has his normal. Long story short, basically the guy mixed up the burritos, and I had Rene's and Rene had mine. I remember eating it at Rene's and thinking, "Fuck me, man, this is hot!" Like it was really hot, and I was like struggling through it a bit. It's like, dude, this is mild. I wouldn't want to mild. And then after Rene got like halfway through, he's like, "Now I think about it, mine's actually really." He's like, "Let me try." He took a bite of mine. He's like, yeah, I've got your one. I was just like, oh shit! I was like sweating through this burrito, like, oh god, yeah.
But it was an excellent burrito, wasn't it?
It was. Couldn't taste anything after the first 5 bites, but yeah, no, it was good. So yeah, we did this. So I did that challenge, and it was fun. The thing was like it was very spicy, but it was one of those where it more was just like it didn't taste particularly like the flavor.
No,
it's quite vinegary. You know, it was really like
I don't know specifically that one, but like we've ordered these like kamikaze wings from time to time. And I'm guessing it's the same recipe. Maybe they just make it like way stronger, but because here in Finland it's a bit different than in Mexico, right? In Mexico, when you go and eat these like chicken wings, the sauce is very thick,
right?
So they deep fry it. And especially at the place I used to go that I really like, they have like 20 sauces. So you can order a plate and tell I want one wing with each sauce that goes from very sweet to very spicy.
They're like hot ones almost.
Yeah, so they kind of like, they deep fry the wings and then they individually dip them.
Yeah.
So you get them just like with a glaze kind of thing.
Yeah.
And here they only have like the same sauce. Almost every place has the same sauce.
Yeah.
And it means
it's like a Texas Pete almost.
It's like a Texas Pete. And the thing that it depends on how spicy it is how much butter they have.
Right.
So the very mild one has a lot of butter, and the spicy has very little butter. Yeah.
Okay.
If you buy Texas Pete and mix it with butter, you get the same kind of like, or very similar at least.
That makes sense.
And so for me, I always get the extra hot. Depending on the place, the extra hot or the extra hot.
It's just which is normal for you.
Yeah, which is the hottest without going to these kamikaze ones.
Yeah.
Because once you go past that, it's like naga chili.
Right.
And for me, it's very weird, but like, naga chili for me tastes like plastic. It's the same flavor as like, for example, weed has. When someone smokes weed, that kind of like plasticky weird flavor,
Right.
like smell. I mean,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
that's the exact same like that the naga tastes to me like.
Okay.
So I don't
get that
love
every
it.
now and then, you know. Sorry to side note it, but that what you mean about the weed? There's a few beers that I know when you crack a certain beer, I'm like,
It smells like that.
weed. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And I don't love that, but that's what I get from that sauce. So it's like plasticky to me, and it's very spicy. I have some naga sauce on the fridge that I use from time to time, but I don't love the flavor. That's why I don't go that crazy.
Yeah.
But I've seen also here, for example, in Hook they have the challenge, and that's my point, because you said you went through it. It's like, yeah, it doesn't even taste good. It's like, and I had the same feeling because I went to Hook once. I was like, oh, you want to do this challenge? I'm like, yeah, I could. You get your name on the wall kind of thing. And
What
cool.
was the challenge?
Eat like 6 wings of those, like very
Really
spicy.
hard, okay.
I was like, it's something that's still eatable in my not so enjoyable, but you will eat it. It's not that big of a deal. And but then you see the wall, and it's a wall that's already, there's no space on the wall.
Right.
I was like, this is not special, mate. Like, why would I suffer through a meal? It stops being special kind of thing.
And that sort of brings me back to this beard meets food guy. He goes and does these challenges that are, and he stays away from spice. Basically, he says he can do spice. It's just not his. It's not really his thing. For example, what he does is he eats like huge quantities of food. He's tiny. He's like probably like 70 kilos. You know, he's very, very thin, very lean, and he's like a professional eater in the sense of, as he said, what he does is he fasts for like 3 days, and then he does the eating challenge. And like he would go to a challenge where he's got to eat like a 30-inch pizza or something in 25 minutes, and he just devours this pizza. And so he's very, very good. And a lot of the tasks that he does are like 65 people have attempted it, and only one has finished it. So that's why it's a bit more impressive. And but yeah, just wanted to. I actually ended it. I ate 2 of those kamikaze wings because I bought one for me and Gaz as like a welcome to Finland type sort of thing. And we did that. And there's a video of us doing it, and it was whatever. And then after we'd eaten it, Terhi, Pete's wife, she said that she's like, I would have done it, but we asked them if they wanted one. They were like, no, we're good. They weren't really. They had some sides. They weren't really eating.
They're reasonable people.
Yeah, exactly. So they said no, but then it was one of those things that once we'd done it, I think Terhi was kind of curious, like how bad it was, sort of thing. So I ordered another one for her, and I ordered one for Pete to try and peer pressure Pete into doing it. He wouldn't do it, but Terhi did it. And to be fair, Terhi just ate it like it was like kind of nothing. And so we had this leftover wing that I was like, well, Terhi, it's so easy. Why don't you do the second one? And she said I could, and sort of she even touched the wing, and then I think she started to think it started to hit her a bit, and she was like, maybe it's not the best idea. So she did. So that at least goes to show how these are pretty spicy wings that no one was keen to do a second. And long story short, I ended up eating the last one because no one else really would. And the second one was a lot more mild, and I don't know whether that was because I'd just eaten one 5 minutes before and my mouth was sort of
already kind of feel
but it did genuinely feel like a lot more mild. But the first one I ate, after I'd eaten the wing, about 10 seconds after, I got a small little burst of like hiccups. For like normally I'm kind of sensitive like that, where if I get some certain spice, I'll get hiccups and it'll be annoying. But this one was just like I had it for like 10 seconds and then it was done. But the second one was nothing really.
There's also these because I don't know how those are. They cannot be the same as we've eaten because you used to be able to order like 6. So I'm sure they have changed the recipe. But that reminds me of once I was in Hamburg, and I was with the group was 3 Mexicans plus me, and then there was like this British girl, really tiny, man. She was like super tiny girl, like very thin, and then this like I think he was from Belgium. That was a group. It was 6 of us, and we went to some chicken wing place.
Right.
And that's the spiciest food I've ever tried.
Right.
Like ever. Because I mean, I grew up in Mexico, but also my dad used to eat a lot of spice, right? So we always ate like a lot of habanero and and I'm quite used to it. Nowadays I've noticed a bit less, but at that time I was very, very used to spice. And we ordered some chicken wings that was like that, like 6 very spicy wings, And it's like, and the guy who was the waiter was also Mexican. He was like, "No, yeah, you shouldn't order this." Like, yeah, just bring that, mate. Like, no, yeah. He brings it, and then the 4 Mexicans grab the wings, eat them right away, and then I remember I was like, I just went like this, put my hand, the hands on my forehead kind of thing. No, like just like I was just like leaned my forehead on my kind of knuckles kind of thing, and bro, I started sweating on my plate kind of thing. I was like, my eyes were watering like crazy, like they wouldn't, like nonstop. I was like, oh, this is awful, like this is really bad. But then the other guys, there was one guy that was just like me, and 2 other guys. We were on a terrace. They were just running up and down the street. They were just like walking and like, fuck this, no, cannot be. And bro, they were like completely red, sweating, like crying, and they were like just like swearing, all like shouting, and you know when you don't know what to do, you're just like just walking in circles kind of thing. And then the Belgian guy, he's like, nah, hell no, mate. Like, if 4 Mexicans cannot take this, like I'm not even gonna try. And then we turn around, and this like British girl, she's nibbling through one, and she's like, yeah, this is okay. Puts it down. You're not gonna eat that. Takes the second one. Yeah. That's like, this woman has no nerves in the mouth or anything. Like, it cannot be. Yeah, it cannot be. Right? Like, but I think it's more of this like chemical, because you can buy the capsaicin just like, and there's some this like chemical that you just like, they sell these droplets.
Right.
You can make it even more spicy, and that's a very different feeling. Same as this naga. It's a very different feeling than the usual spice from an habanero kind of thing. Like, for me, I don't know, it's a bit of a different
so I struggle a lot with habanero. Like that's probably the one that I find gives me the hiccups kind of thing. Yeah. I had a ghost chili, I think it is, it was in Australia, in some Jamaican restaurant thing on, just like a kind of, it was called Jamrock. It's like a Jamaican like burger bar. They sell just like various sort of chicken, basically. Like you get quarter chicken on the bone. That kind of, really, really good food, to be fair. And you could get like a chicken, but and each heat you could get, I think it was like green, orange, red, black was like and black was like just don't eat it sort of thing, really hot. And then off that, the menu, they had second orange and yellow, which was like, because it was a quite small like family run sort of business. They were like for the people that know them, oh, if you want to try this is really hot. And yellow was like, they recommend don't have this on a chicken, have it as like a dipping sauce, because it's like And I remember I went with this Australian guy, and he had a chicken done on the bone, and on the bone chicken it's hotter, but apparently, if you have it like filleted, the spice isn't as bad as on the bone. I can't remember why. They gave us there was a reason for it, but eating like chicken on the bone, like a wing, will feel hotter than like chicken on a breast sort of thing, a fillet sort of thing. So his
probably because you kind of like make a mess on your mouth kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. This was so long ago. It was 2015 or so. So I can't remember the. Actually, it was way before that. It was 2011. So, but there was some reason why the chicken on the bone was like felt hotter than on the like the fillet. And I remember they brought me a pot of the yellow sauce just to dip a fry in. And I dipped this fry like there was barely anything on it, and I don't even think as soon as it just crossed the threshold of my mouth, it was like instant pain. It was just kind of like, and it just, but really the worst hiccups, for like an hour, just kind of like, and I'm like, this guy ate a fucking whole chicken, like, and he was, don't get me wrong, he was crying, he was drinking milk, he's eating yogurt. I was like, it's stupid when you think about it, but yeah, that was the hottest thing I'd ever tasted. And that brings, I had a friend at uni who, he was a British guy as well. He was one of those guys where, wherever you go to an Indian restaurant, wherever you go anywhere, he'd always order the hottest thing on the menu. And it was almost like, I don't think it was him being like a dick, like, oh, look at me, I'm hard kind of thing. But it was weird because, we'd go for Indian food, and I'd just have like a tikka masala or something like basic, and he'd have a fowl, which is like apparently like hotter than a vindaloo or whatever it was, and he'd eat that, and he would be tearing, he'd be red, and he'd eat the whole thing, and after it, he's constantly blowing his nose, and I'm just thinking, like, that can't be enjoyable.
It is. Yeah. It is.
And he had a salsa, from like a Mexican salsa, but it was like it came from Mexico. I remember that much, and I remember he had it shipped from like Amazon or something, and it came with like a seal on it that was like, and I remember the label had like a skull and crossbones on it, and it was just like, it was called like, it wasn't called lava, but it was something bad. Yeah. And I remember the same thing. I dipped this like nacho chip into it, and really, really, really bad spice. And I remember he'd like scoop it up and he would be munching through it. It was like, yeah, he was an absolute animal. And just, but yeah, there are definitely some spice things out there, and this wing probably wasn't up there in the.
That's my point. Yeah. That's like, it feels a bit like. Meh.
But it's fun to see those things at least sort of come into Finland a bit, you know. Like
it would be nice. Yeah, because I remember before I moved here, my ex, she did next to Hook. There used to be a place called Gringos Locos or something like that.
Okay.
And she got a T-shirt and a diploma of this, like you ate the plate of death kind of thing, or something. Like a bit more like. And I think Rooster used to have like a burger.
Right. Yeah.
That was like Death Burger or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, these challenges are like some of these ones, the ones that the guy does on the Beard Meats Food. They're like some of them look doable. Like there's one he goes to an English breakfast place, and it's just a big full English breakfast. I mean, it's like 6 sausages, 6 slices of bacon, tons of baked beans. It's like a stack of bread, like toasted bread. It has that black pudding, which is like the blood sausage out here, and I don't like that, so I don't think I could do it purely based on I wouldn't want to eat that sort of thing. But a bunch of that, then it has some mushrooms, and I mean, it generally and it has a lot, like maybe like 6 eggs or 5 eggs or something. So it's a lot of food. Don't get me wrong, but if you hadn't eaten, since the previous day, or maybe certainly if you'd fasted that whole day, I don't think it would be that much of a struggle. And but that one he manages very easy and stuff. But there are a few he does that are just like. Oh yeah, they just look like that is a struggle. That like
there are some that you just can't. I mean, I remember I went in Berlin with a few friends. We went to this Redo XXL or something like that. It's cool. It was a really nice restaurant next to the river kind of thing. We were there on a terrace. I have a picture there with this like, it feels like a wine glass, but it was like a 2-liter beer. Okay. On a glass, kind of like really fancy. Like I have a picture with that there, kind of thing. And then we ordered 2 plates. There was 8 of us, 7 or 8, I'm not sure, but like around that amount of number of people. And we ordered 2 plates, and each plate was this kind of. If you eat it, if one person eats this whole plate, you get 100 or 50 euros, depending on the plate. Well, it was this like, there's no way your body is even capable of this, because the first plate that gave you 100 euros was 3 kilos of like kind of like assorted meats. So it's like sausages and like different kind of sausages and schnitzel and this like very German stuff, and 2 kilos of French fries. And the other one was like 2 kilos of schnitzel, 2 kilos of French fries, and this like Jaeger sauce, like mushroom sauce kind of thing. I was like, there's no way your body can take 4 kilos of food, no matter who you are, mate. Like it just seems like.
Yeah,
there was maybe some of these guys who train kind of this thing.
I would because
it was 7 of us and there was a leftover. We ordered 2 plates that are supposed like we'll give you money if you eat them on your own. And there was leftover, mate. Like,
that's it. This guy does these challenges. That's why I'm shocked. He's so small and he does eat like when he says that he does it all in pounds, which is weird, like instead of the kilos. But it's like some of it's like it works out a couple kilos worth of fries. There's one where he has to eat. It's like a massive burger fry, and he struggles. It's like the burger is literally like this, it's got a huge stick through it. It's like something like 8 big patties.
Yeah, it's made that you cannot even bite into it.
Yeah, he's just taken out and he's eating the patties by hand, and the fries by the end of it. It's just like he's just scooping it, and he says. Some of them he flexes on them a bit, where like he'll do their challenge and be like, "Can I get the dessert menu?" Like he does that kind of thing, and then the ones you can tell where he struggles because he doesn't ask for a dessert basically. He's like, and there's one he does in a steakhouse where he eats this. The steak's like $70 or something, free if you complete it, and he's just like, it tastes good, but he's like, it takes him 40 minutes or something. He's like, your jaw, about 40 minutes of chewing. He's like, it's just, and he said even cutting the steak starts to become fatiguing. You're like, just so. But yeah, he's some of that stuff that's good. And he said that there's like, and some of that I've seen obviously the hot dog eating competitions they do on the stage and that stuff. And he said there's this guy, this famous. Some of them are like the level these pro eaters go to. He said one of them. This was on a podcast he was on actually, and where he was interviewed and he talked about this guy who's like next level. That they were doing a competition for wings, like how many wings you could eat, and there was 3 of them left, and he basically calculated while he was doing it that he was so far behind these other 2 dudes that he just couldn't win in the time left that was allowed. But he worked out that if he just swallowed the wing whole, he'd catch them up, because they're like stripping the wing, right? They're just grabbing these wings and they're just like shredding the bones out and doing the thing. So he just necks 10 wings, like just swallows it.
Fucking hell, mate.
And he's like, he won, and he's just like the guy swallows whole with the bone 10 chicken wings to win a championship instantly after the competition. Obviously, goes and throws them up. And I didn't really think about this, but he just says, as another professional eater, he's like he's putting his life at risk there. He's like eating 10 with the bone. He's like, going down is a problem. Coming up, if that bone snap, you're
gonna stuck somewhere, mate.
He's like the dedication there. I was like, yeah. So there are some animals on that regard for sure.
I saw this woman, and I think she's British. She's a woman like a bit darker features, like a bit bigger nose. She's some kind of like bodybuilder. Well, not bodybuilder, maybe like this, like fitness or.
Okay.
And I've seen her attempt like a lot of these challenges. Okay. I've seen her like on TV or somewhere. I don't know, maybe YouTube, and she attempted one that is like a kebab from here kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And I have to eat this in 2 minutes or something like that. It's like, man, that's insane.
Yeah.
And she tries. Oh, she was breaking a world record or something like that. And she's like, oh, I missed. I ate it in 2 minutes, 3 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, tough luck. And then they're like, you want to try again? Yeah. No. Yeah. I was like, no, bro. Like, whatever she ate, first of all, it was like 2 minutes, but like, or like whatever it was, like super short time. But it's a massive amount of food. And she's like, yeah, I'll try again.
Yeah.
Like, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
And then she succeeded. So I was like, wow, that is something.
Yeah, it's weird because like the
I eat a lot, mate. I massive amounts if I want to, but
same, yeah.
But never that level. Like
that's it. When you
insane.
One of the ones he does this pizza place where they're like, oh, you got to eat this. You have to eat this pizza in a certain amount of time, and he just trolls because basically, and he does it. But this massive pizza comes out, right, and it looks delicious. It's like really thick, and he says it's a good pizza. But it's just come out, right? It's fucking insanely hot.
Melting your mouth,
basically. He started it, and as soon as he bites into it, he eats it, and he's like, what have I done here? He's like, why did I start now? He's like, and he's just going at it, and he's drinking his water, and he's like, burnt all over my mouth. He's like, burnt everywhere. He's like, why didn't I let it cool down? It's just like, you're not an amateur. He knows this stuff. He's just, I mean, apparently he absolutely ruined his mouth. But yeah, there was on that sort of topic. There's Eddie Hall. It's like he was world's strongest man for he's an English guy or British guy. He's from England, but he was in some controversy because the year he won, if I'm not mistaken, he competed against, I can't remember the guy's name, but the dude who's the mountain in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Jordan. The Icelandic dude, and he beat him that year. And there's controversy over. There's a certain press that the mountain Game of Thrones guy got like not disqualified, but he got reps taken away because he didn't do the form. Apparently, there's something about the form and he didn't do it. So, and there's controversy of that basically the Game of Thrones guy kind of bitched about it and said that he should have won and all this sort of stuff. And the experts seem to believe that it was absolutely correct and that Eddie Hall did win, and that's that. But he won that, and now he's retired. He does a YouTube channel, and he
I see he does this like reacting and
he does reacting and all that sort of stuff. But and he also does something. It's like he's trying to do lots of different content. Like he just bought a tank, like an actual military tank, and he drives it down the street, and he goes to the petrol station to see how much it takes to fill up his tank, basically, and it costs him, I think, £900 to fill up in gasoline the tank, and he does stuff like that. And one of the things, he's got a wife, and she's very slim, like he's massive, right? He's just a big dude, and she's like a stick thin. They go to the gym stuff, and he does one challenge out of nowhere. He just says, "What we're gonna do is we've decided just for today, me and the wife, we're gonna swap diets. She's gonna eat yeah." And I don't know how she does it. Because we start off with having a breakfast. They go to a cafe and they just eat like an English caf, sort of like where you get full English breakfast, all that sort of stuff. And he orders for her, and even that, I was like, "There's no chance I could finish this." And she eats 90% of it. I think she leaves a little bit of like. I think she just leaves a bit of bread or something. Mm-hmm. But she eats, and I was like, Jesus Christ, her stomach's like this. I was just like, I don't know how she's put it in there. And then what he eats, the difference in calories. I think he was eating about 4,500 calories a day. She was eating, I think, about 12 to 1,300 kind of thing, and he was miserable. And yeah, it's just kind of funny. He does stuff like that. But on the YouTube note, this one of the topics I wanted to talk about today, which was funny, is that you know Mr. Beast. I think yeah. So this was for those of anyone that is watching that doesn't know who Mr. Beast is, he's like, I think he's the most famous or biggest YouTuber, and he basically got famous doing challenges where he does things like takes 10 people and says, put your hand on this Lamborghini, last person to take their hand off.
He also gives a lot of money around.
That's kind of what
I saw there's a lot of controversy now that people are pissed because he's taking advantage of people.
What I was sort of going to start with was one of the ones that all these challenges he does, they're like kind of like he did one. I mean, he's huge now, right? They reckon he's multi-billionaire or I could make this. I think he's a billionaire, but essentially there was talks of that they think he will eventually become. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was the first YouTube billionaire from.
Yeah, I think
that.
So. Yeah.
And
there was something like big like that.
And but he does like, so the production level of these challenges he sort of offers are really good sort of thing. Yeah. Like he did one, it was kind of stupid. He just took like 50, give or take, I think it was 50 parents and their children in America, and he just did basically all the parents in this room and all the kids in that room, and the last ones to leave get like the money, and I can't remember how much money it was, but it was something like 500k split between whoever's left or something. Yeah. And it's just it just goes on, and so those ones are a bit like whatever, and he does little gimmicks. He did the
Squid Games.
Yeah,
he recreated Squid Games.
He did the Squid Game. He did that, and they're pretty good and stuff. And then the one I liked, which isn't the one I want to talk mostly about, but this one I did like, was he took some random dude, I don't know who was, and he basically said, if you can live in this circle for, it had to be, I want to say it was like a year. You get like, I should have researched this probably better. I didn't really plan to sort of bring this up, but it was something along the lines of like, if you live in the circle for, it can't have been a year. It has to be like a few months or something. Mm. You get X amount, a few hundred grand sort of thing. And this dude, like, so there is a makeshift wooden sort of little house in this like circle perimeter in a field, and basically he's got all the food and things in there, and to last him, but there's enough calories for, let's say, 3 months that he's got to be there, but only if he eats, let's say, 2,000 calories a day or something. So he's got to like, but the guy does it properly, like, okay, I'm gonna divide it up nicely and all that sort of stuff, and then every now and then Mr. Beast comes and stops by and says, right, I'll offer you 50 grand to leave now, like just to try, and when he tests him, when he whatever and stuff, and he says no, or then to sort of really sort of put pressure on him, stuff like he'll hire like a marching band to just come outside his house and play for 24 hours. So the poor guy's like, can't sleep. He's just got this marching band playing 24 hours, things like that and stuff. Anyway, it's just things like that. But the one that he did that I thought this was like a really small sort of thing he did, but I guess it's for exposure, but it just sort of pissed me off in a weird way. It was like, he was just going down the street in America offering people like a choice, basically. It was like, do you want $1,000 now, cash? They're at the mall in America. He's like, or do you want $5,000 in a year's time in your bank account? Like you can choose either one. And like, I'm pretty sure I know what you choose, but just to give you the option, what would you choose?
I would take the 5.
Yeah, like, and I think that is, well, I thought that was what everyone would take.
But I think that's because I don't have any money issues. Because if you stop someone on the street like that, basically is struggling to go by, I can see why they would ask for the 1,000. And
this is kind of what people, on YouTube, because essentially it wasn't exactly this, but it was something along the lines of like 80 or 90% of people he asked took the $1,000, and it was like, I was just like, I don't understand. And I get what you're saying about the financial problems, but there's a couple of things that I sort of look when I'm like, my first observation on it was, firstly, these people are all in America at the mall on a Saturday, so it's like, logically, if you're at the mall on a Saturday, you could, with reasonable assumption, that person probably has $1,000 like in net worth, right? Or or maybe not, right? But it could be the case, right? It wouldn't be unfathomable to think that most people at the mall in America on a Saturday, have $1,000 in the bank, right? It could be like, incorrect, but it's like
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So secondly, it was like $1,000 is not like a lot of money in the sense of it's nowhere near anywhere. I think everyone would agree it's not life changing, right? So in the sense of, and I guess what I mean by that is, in what world, right, would you take a 5K, right, in a year's time, and the argument of, well, but I get 1,000 now, and it could, I'm sure, and people's arguments will, some people have bills, they're in debt, they've got all this. It's fine.
But I also think a lot of people don't think or don't plan that much ahead.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Like, because I can see it in Mexico, people not. I think here in Finland, when I speak to people, I think they have more clear goals and plans way farther ahead than a lot of people in Mexico.
100% agree, and I think that is one of the things as human beings we are really bad at planning for the future, and we've got this. There's like this psychological sort of thing that we always think about. It's like if you offer a kid, like a young child, like, do you want one lollipop now, or do you want 2 lollipops in an hour's time? They'll always take the lollipop now, but that makes sense because you're a kid and you're stupid, right? Like, when you're a kid, it is what it is, right? It's like if I was a kid and I was offered. In fact, this exact thing happened. I remember when I was young, my granddad took me and my brother to New York. With my nan and granddad took me and my brother with like half term, like holiday for school, and they took us to New York for 5 days. And when we got to the airport, and I would have been like 8 years old, or give or take, and I maybe a bit younger, but we get to the airport, and the person behind the desk offers my granddad, says, "We've oversubscribed your flights. Do you want to fly today as agreed, or do you want to fly tomorrow?" And they were giving us something ridiculous, like it was, and you'll get $5,000 of airline credit, basically, and essentially, and my granddad was the clear decision was fly a day later and take the money. And my granddad tried to explain to me, if we miss out, they put us in a hotel overnight in the airport, and we go to New York tomorrow, and we lose 1 day holiday. But when
we have money,
when summer comes, you can go anywhere in the world. When summer comes, I'll take you anywhere in the world. You can pick anywhere in the world, and we can fly anywhere. We can go first class because they're going to pay us. It was an outrageous amount. And I remember just being so. As a kid, I was devastated. I want to go to New York. I want to go now. I want to go. And my granddad turned it down, and we just got on the plane, and we took the flight, right?
And hated you for the rest of the trip.
Exactly. And I remember, like, as I got older, when I was like sort of 16, 17, my granddad always would sort of bring up like, oh, we could have gone to the Bahamas if we'd gone to do that sort of thing. And my mum just said to my granddad, "You're a fucking idiot. Why would you why are you letting an 8-year-old? Why are you letting an 8-year-old decide?" And that's that kind of thing for sure. But this, what I couldn't really, what kind of, I guess, triggered me about this, like this people taking the money, was it was just so illogical, because regardless of everything you said about, people have said online about, yeah, well, if they're in debt, or $1,000 does a lot for people and this sort of stuff. It's like, I don't dispute any of that, but $1,000, my point isn't a lot of money in the extent of you can borrow $1,000. As in, so my point is, you can go to a really shitty money lending company. You see them all on the internet. They'll offer you and take a loan for $1,000 and pay back $2,000 over a year at an awful rate, and you'll still be net up $3K, right?
But a lot of people don't think like that, man.
It just doesn't. Yeah, it just didn't make. You know what I'm saying? Like, say I was desperate for the $1,000, and they offered me that deal. I just go, oh, I'm sure like one of my friends will lend me, $1,000, and if your friend came to you and said, "Rene, can I borrow $1,000 in a year's time? I'll give you back $2,000." Here, you'd be like, yeah, cool. Like, it just, so that's what I just sort of thought. It was like, it kind of felt crazy to me that people would sort of do that. And it's similar. There's lots of these sort of money kind of, they're not even riddles, they're just like decisions that in the poker world people always sort of talk about. One of the ones that they're a bit of a trap and a bit of a bait, right? So it's like, I'll ask you, so caveat in advance, they all have little traps to them. But so one of the ones was like, do you want, would you take $10 million now, or $1, euros, pounds, whatever currency, 10 million now, or would you want €1, $1, whatever the currency is, that doubles in value every month? and until you cash it out, basically.
What do you mean?
So let's say I give you $10 million cash right now, or in your bank account, or you can have €1. That, let's just say we're in January. So in January it's worth €1, but in February that euro will be worth €2, and in March it will be worth €4. And at a certain point, at a certain month, you can go, I'm gonna cash in that money, that pot now.
So it's per month.
Yeah. I put you on the spot here, so I have to do to put you in like a math bot. So, and that's why it's a bit of a trick. So it's
this is a bit of a shitty thing to do because I'm an engineer and I should be better at this, but I don't know. I will have to do the math.
Right.
I cannot do it in my head, man. I'm not gonna lie. but I would guess, because it's exponential, eventually you're better off with the second option.
Exactly right. And so, just to give you the the rough, after 30 months, so which is what, 2.5 years, I think that money turns out to be like, I want to say it's like 36 billion.
Yeah,
it's something crazy like that. Like I've done.
Man, ideally, because in that case, I would be more than fine not touching that money for 10 years.
Yeah. Well, here's the
like,
thing. And this is it, right? This same argument happened. And there's one more of the tasks that these all on like Twitter and poker Twitter and things like that. But the one, because obviously the exponential growth, as you said, it's it basically the trap. What people, when they first did it was something like $10 million now, or a pound that doubles every day. I think it was.
Yeah. That's even more of a no-brainer.
So and people were like, well, but it's going to show the power of doubling an exponential growth rate, is that £1 is small, but literally by day 30 is something like, it's like 36 billion or whatever. It's like, it's huge, but obviously it's because you're doubling the number every single day, and doubling big numbers becomes even bigger, right? So it's like a bit of math lesson there for you, everyone on YouTube. The doubling numbers is quite big, and the point is that I changed it for this to make it a bit more tricky, I think, in the sense of doing it every month. People think putting over a longer time scale, people struggle to think over longer time scales. And the thing that I say still thinks crazy is what I like about this problem, in the sense of it's difficult, right? Because like, out of it's personal preference, but if let's just say now we all agree that we would take the doubling money, where do you cash out? Because to me, as I said, when you do it in 30 months, which I think is a reasonable amount of time, because again, let's say the money, people are arguing on Twitter, well, 10 million now is 10, like that, that solves your life, right? You live forever, like, with 10 million. But the problem is that the difference is that if you take like 2 years, 2.5 years, I said 30 months, whatever, isn't a long time to wait, and 36 billion is infinite money, right? Yeah. So you could set up everyone's life, that you could help a lot of people with that sort of thing. So it's like that. But then it does become a point, right, that like every month, like the bigger the number gets, right, one more month you're making more money every month, right? So for example, early months you're making £4, £8, like sort of in gain, but month 36 you're making 36 billion, and then you're making 72 billion in that next month, and then 150 billion, or 144 billion, like, and so on and so forth. And it's like, so it becomes a point where, like, and obviously that's too much money. It gets to a point where
I think anything after 100 million, mate, you won't spend it.
I think I sort of agreed that I think the 36 billion number is probably too much. Like that, you'd almost struggle to. Because
I would like to, I will cash out at the point where, man, you don't have to do anything, like,
Yeah,
and I don't think that number is very high, in the sense of, like, once you pass the 30 million, or how much is that, even if you take that money, throw it in the bank, and just get a monthly kind of thing, you're already set for life, man. Like, it's like there's not much to be done after.
Yeah, and I think those, like the Mr. Beast one, I said it was just a shock to me that how many people took the 1,000.
I thought you were going on a very different direction, because I've seen a lot of these things on Twitter about Mr. Beast, that these people that complain about everything.
Yep.
I've never seen people complain like that. If you are busy and you have stuff to do, but maybe that's just me. And but a lot of people complaining. I don't know if you saw that, like, he gave surgery to, was it 1,000 people?
Rings a bell.
He gave eye surgery. I don't know if it was 100 or 1,000 people.
Yeah, for people that can't see, he made some blind people see or something.
Yeah, and people were complaining of like, he just does this for the money. And I was like, well, maybe, but there's still 1,000 people that can see now.
Yeah.
It's like, but fuck that, because like he just wants the money. He's just not doing this for the people and stuff, and like that. But what do you do for people?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's crazy that you complain about, but he's just doing this, like, because he wants to make more money. He's just using the people. It's like, mate, but if you ask that blind person, hey, I'm gonna use you as a fucking publicity stunt for myself, but you will see. None of those guys will say no, man.
Yeah.
Like, like, for me, it's crazy that people complain about these things. But these, and it's just millionaires, and I was like, mate.
Yeah, it's a problem.
You complain that millionaires are not giving money back to people, and once one of them does, no, he's a cunt because he's making money. It's like, mate.
Well, what they don't understand, right, is if he doesn't make money from doing the video, he can't help people. The money has to come from somewhere, right? Like, they're like, but he's rich.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he wasn't rich all the time. Like he
became rich because he started giving money away.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the money he made, put it back into that.
And all these videos that he does cost him millions to do.
Yeah.
And then the business model is they net gain, right? They make a profit. But the point is, if he pays for surgery for 1,000 people to be able to, have vision again, that money has to come from somewhere, because it's not a sustainable business model, is it? If he just does it out of his own pocket and then does something,
and not record it and not do anything.
Eventually, the money doesn't come anywhere, and then he can't afford to do it anymore. So it's just these silly arguments for sure that people do, and it's the same as like. There are a few where, it's money, right, in general. Like, there are a few where people get on the Mr. Beast videos, and they're like, I gave my friend Billy 100,000 for his birthday. And it's like, and people get pissed, right? They're like, oh, he doesn't need the money. It's like, dude, the guy makes videos. He does some weird stuff, because the guy's weird, right? Like, for example, Mr. Beast does this thing where, like, some of his videos are just really stupid and weird. Like, he went and bought a brand new car with pennies. So he goes in with like wheelbarrows of pennies to like the BMW dealership and buys. He's like, buying my brother a car, but with pennies, and it's like a video that has millions of views, and it's like, cool. Realistically, there's no fucking way that BMW took those pennies. You just paused the video, and when they said, dude, we're not fucking letting you pay for the car in pennies, and he went, hey, it's for YouTube. Can you just wheel him in there and pretend and let me sign the paperwork, and then I'll bank transfer you the money. I'll take the pennies away. But like, it's just what he does, right? So it's kind of but yeah, these the financial debates that you see on poker Twitter in particular are pretty amusing, because there's like this other little one where they said, which was something along the lines, I don't remember the exact number, it was something like, do you want $1 million now or $10,000 a month for the rest of your life, like as a and this is one which isn't like this one is more of the other ones that I've said are like basically very clear cut, in my opinion at least, is then you take the 5k and you take the pound that doubles, because obviously if you've got a bit of patience, that money becomes way more than what you're offered. But this other one, it's like 10k a month is 120k a year, right? So give or take, it's like, let's just say it was like 8 to 10 years to reach your $1 million equivalent. It's one of those ones where, well, it depends, right? Because there is way more to consider now, because well, let's say you do get it for the rest of your life, right? So let's say you live like 30, 40 years, it will work out more money than the million. But the argument is, well, what could you have done with that million in terms of investment, right? If that million, if it takes you, let's say 30 years, and you've made like 4 or 5 million from from having the 10k every month, but having that million invested for those years would probably be more than the 4 or 5 million anyway, if that makes sense. So it's like, it becomes one of those spots where, what is the correct decision? And all these the math people in poker were like, well, actually you should do this and you should do that. And then somebody brings up an interesting point, which was like the value of $10,000 a month like diminishes, right? So like right now earning 10k a month is a lot of money. In 40 years it might not be. Not, right? So exactly. So it's kind of one of those. But yeah, I find those kind of things just relatively interesting, but more so kind of the people's arguments about hypothetical situations I do find pretty interesting.
I think those kind of things give you a quite of a deep view or look into how people think and how people exactly how they see the world, basically.
Yeah, and you're spot on about I sort of had this discussion yesterday or the day before with Pete and when I was with Gaz and Pete, we had a bit of a chat about this sort of stuff, and I was saying it's just human beings' inability to comprehend, one, big numbers. We just don't do well with thinking about large numbers, and secondly, planning ahead. Like, I genuinely don't plan what I'm going to eat any further than the current meal, right? I mean, so but let alone people trying to plan. That's why I think, as you said, that the 5K Mr. Beast one, I don't believe fully it is that people on the internet were saying, yeah, but people are hard up financially and stuff. I don't agree that is the full motivator. I think it is more, as you excuse me, touched on, just the case that people always act for the now. Like, we are sort of programmed as a species to, you go and hunt for your next, as cavemen, you go and, primitive people, you go and hunt for your next meal. That you don't think about, well, I'll kill 2 boars because I can put one in the cave, keep it cold, and I can plant. You don't think like that. You just think, I'm hungry, I need to eat. And I think that's the kind of the thing there. But
I think so too. Yeah. But I think that's just natural. That it's just the same as like how many people that really save.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just don't save at all. And if you make $1,000 a month, they spend $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then if they suddenly get a massive raise, 2,000, they'll spend 2,000. And then if they get a raise and they get 10,000, they will spend 10,000. There's just a lot of people that don't see saving as, why should you do it kind of thing. Like,
yes, it's a difficult spot, isn't it? Because people made the argument as well on it's similar. I think that 1 million versus 10K for the rest of your life month is essentially like, do you want money now or do you want to save, kind of thing? Because a lot of people said in that as well was like, well, you don't know how much life you'll get. $1 million now, $1 million, you can use and you can get value from, but you might. The people's argument of like, yeah, well, you might get hit by a car 3 weeks from now, and it's like, well, that million's not going to do you any good then either, is it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of. I think that is a lot of people's philosophy with saving is, why am I saving for my future self when I've got things I need now, is their argument. I think it's a shame, because I think you're right. I think a lot of people end up not prepared for their future, but I do think it's. I mean, when you were a kid, I don't know about you, I mean, I just remember being at school and never financial education was just never a thing, right? It was never a case of think about your pension or think about, it was just not a thing. Like,
mate, I find it insane now that you touched pension, for example, because in Mexico, if you started working after, I don't remember if it's 2003 or 2013, then you won't get a pension, mate.
In what? Sorry.
Like in Mexico, the pension system, it basically crashed, got bankrupt, and now if you started working 2003 or 2013, I think it's 2013. If you started working after that, or 3, you won't get a pension, mate. You will never retire. Sorry, and a lot of people, mate. I remember talking to classmates or colleagues and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, what like this topic would come up, right?" And yeah, when I retire and this, and it's like, what do you mean when you retire? Like, yeah, when I get 60 and I retire, I'm like, mate, that's not a thing in Mexico anymore, mate. Like, you're fine.
I think that's not a thing in Europe anymore, mate. I think that's the world we live in now.
I mean, I started working at 30 here in Finland, so I'm guessing that's not a thing for me either. But but you know what I mean? Like,
I do, yeah.
It's this kind of like, a lot of people are not even aware of what's gonna happen, and they're like, yeah, when I retire and this, and it's like, mate, unless you become very big and you're saving a lot of money, that will never happen.
That's the thing, isn't it? I know we sort of probably briefly touched on this in a previous episode, and I definitely wanted to have this kind of topic about generational changes in one of our next episodes. But just to touch on it as we're chatting about it now, like the thought, you must have seen those memes, the ones where are like, my parents in their 30s, like, oh, we've just bought our second car and we've just paid off our mortgage on our house or whatever it is, and just got stuff. Me in my 30s, like, €11 for this sandwich. I guess I'm not eating today. that kind of thing. Like, and
for me, it's absolutely insane, mate. Because I grew up in this kind of like, my life was very weird in this sense. Because when I was born, my parents were really doing well, and then there was the crisis in Mexico, and then they were doing really bad. So it became this kind of like, I saw a bit of this whole change of like a lot, nothing, and then a bit, and then getting better slowly. My brother, just with 5 years different, he lived a very different kind of like growing up where we were not as broke anymore. So I think he grew up in a very different kind of world, even though it was the same house. And for me, it's just crazy how I when I was out of university, even before I started working for Volkswagen, got sent to Germany, came back to Mexico, had a salary that, mate, I had coworkers that were on their 30s, 40s, no, probably 40s, mid 40s, and they had been working their whole life, and I came in and I had the same or better grading that they had. And of course they didn't like me, man. They're like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, he just walk in and he has a better grading than me. I've been working for years here, which I understand. But at the same time, it's like, mate, I do speak many languages and I have many extras kind of thing. And then you can see of like, okay, I make a really good salary that a lot of like, it's better than a very big percentage of the population for someone that just graduated. Like, my salary was fucking excellent. A lot of people would kill for a salary like that. It was 1,000 euros a month.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, it's nothing.
Yeah,
especially if I wanted to come to Finland, for example, because like my ex was Finnish, it's like that was not a thing because just the flight is more than a month's salary kind of thing. But then I turned to my parents, and then they're like, their salaries were like quite decent nowadays, and it's this kind of like, it's a very weird kind of like how they got to their positions, how I got to mine kind of thing, like, and how the house they have is massive, and it's like, now in Mexico with that salary you cannot afford any house. Unless you eat rice and beans basically every day and do nothing else, and it's just massive how things have changed.
Yeah, and I remember being, I don't fully remember in 2008, the big financial crash, like all the banks in the US, all the bankers kind of fucked the world over, in that. I was 20, or I was 2008, I guess. So but I think 20. I was 20, and I don't fully remember it, but I just have a rough recollection of my mum sort of saying, when it's all on the news and watching it all, and my mum basically being like, this is, how awful it is, in the sense that she's just said something along the lines to me of like, your generation's going to be paying for this for the rest of your life, like basically you're fucked kind of thing, like in a and I didn't really get it, and I thought, and it's one of those things, it's the kick the can down the road, like kind of like almost butterfly type effect, where it's only sort of now we're sort of feeling these sort of like the ripples, right, of things that have happened in the past, like financially. And you do see it, obviously it's inflation, there's all sorts of things that have affected the economy, but yeah, it is mental that you sort of think we're probably the first generation in a long time that will do worse than our parents in terms of in standard of living, in sense of most. I think it's fair to say that a decent percentage of people of our generation won't own their home, and certainly won't own multiple properties, right? And
that's for sure.
And it's just one of those things where it's, and like you say, on retirement, I think retirement is a distant memory for most people. I just don't think it's financially viable for like the majority of people, right? You just it's hard. The cost of living is so high. It's
you can retire, but what kind of retirement is that?
Yeah, like, exactly. It's just going to be like, it's just the future has very bleak appeal to it in some regard. Yeah, but yeah,
what a life.
But it is interesting, isn't it? Like you say, when you look at, you think your parents, it's the same when I think back to my parents, right? They've got a lovely home. My mum doesn't work, right? My dad, when I was a kid, like very young, my dad was a truck driver, so he used to drive trucks around Europe on, a pretty, I would say, low to average salary, right? Excuse me, not like, he wasn't a banker, he wasn't an accountant, it was like a very. But he managed to support a family of a wife and 2 children.
Got a nice house.
Yeah, right. And now then my dad, when I was like more of a teenager, my mum went back to work, because the reason for that was my dad was really proud and important to say he wanted my mum to be able to be a stay-at-home mum to raise their kids, right? He thought it was really important. His mum left when he was young, sort of thing. So I think it was an important thing for him that, you know, the mum should be around the house sort of for the kids. And me and my brother were both very grateful of that. But yeah, and then when we got into our teens, my mum got like a job again back in working in like a stationery shop, and did that for a while. And then over the last, I don't know how long, like you know, since we've grown up, moved out, you know, living our lives, my mum no longer works again. She just is a like a stay-at-home wife type thing and keeps the house, you know, in order. And my dad goes to work, and they're fortunate enough to do that. In fact, they've just paid their mortgage off, right? So they're living.
I also think not a lot of people can say that nowadays.
Yeah, right. And they live, and my dad, and if you think about that, my dad, he's now he so he was a handyman, electrician type thing, but now his current job is he's sort of like almost like a warehouse facility sort of manager, just for, you know, so it's not like he has a huge salary by any means, right? But it's just, and my mum doesn't work, so they live off of one. They're not, you know, millionaires, not rich or anything like that, but they live happily with a house that's been paid out for. They're putting an extension in, and they live off one person's salary. So it's like, and I just don't think that's a achievable kind of thing anymore, right? No, so it's kind of, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. We've been talking about this with Petra now, of this, like moving in together and then like planning on like buying a house at some point, and it's kind of like doable, especially if you don't have kids and you have two incomes, like because we both do quite alright. I mean, it's nothing, it's like massive salaries, but they're okay. So I think it's not a problem. But when you see people around, then you can see that it's starting to be less and less common, mate, that you can do that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think the shame is as well. I think it's fair to say, like, I think a lot less of our generation as well. I think the stats are showing this, and this is definitely one that we're going to go into further on a future podcast. I think it will take up an episode in itself, but that the population, like people of our generation, are repopulating less and less. And the reality is people just can't afford to have children as often anymore. And as I said, if you think about yourself, I mean, we're in our 30s. People in like our parents' 30s looked a lot different to our 30s, right? In terms of like we are living more like people in their late teens, early 20s, right? So it's kind of like the time just sort of running out of having kids for a lot of people as well. They get to the point where they're like, dude, I've just got promoted at work, I'm just starting my career, that I'm 30, you know, this isn't me. I'm saying people,
you can stop now.
People can be like, I'm 37 and I've just got in my career, like how am I going to stop to have, you know, I've got no time to have a family almost. 100%. And it's really interesting because it just the population, like population levels are declining, and it's kind of it's
but at the same time, because we've talked about this. Because, for example, I've talked about this with like my family back in Mexico, and some part of the family, some friends, of like, oh mate, you're doing so good, and I think it's also like, well, in social media you only see the nice part of people's life, right? You don't see the struggles and stuff, like, and that's one part that makes you think like, oh, I don't know if I'm doing that good. I think that's a big problem, first of all, and also, for example, I get that from some people, right? And it's like, oh, you just had it easy. And it's like, mate, I made decisions that made my life easy nowadays. But they were not easy at the beginning, right? It's like the career I chose to study, like, or pursuit, and like the subject I chose to study, it's one that there's a lot of jobs nowadays. And I chose what I studied based on that. And I remember we talked about this, of like, I remember every Saturday for like years, I would just go and study German. I was like, and I had a lot of comments made like, what are you doing, man? Oh, like, do you want to go here? I can't, I have to study German. Oh, why are you doing that, man? Like, you will never need it. Like, what's that for? Like, you're just wasting your time. Like, just come on, let's go party or whatever. No, man, I'm going to go and study. Like, and I remember like at least that period of studying every single Saturday for like 8 hours, it lasted like 3-4 years. And a lot of those people then, the language was the part that got me the job with Volkswagen. It's the part that got me to Europe, and if you look for the main reason, that's kind of like the seed that brought me to Finland.
Yeah, again,
And-
it's like a butterfly effect of
Yeah.
decisions you make. Yeah,
Exactly.
Provide opportunities.
And then the fact that I chose to study what I studied is the thing that got me, like, made me be able to get a good job here in Finland.
Yeah.
Despite the language and despite many things. And then you get people like, oh mate, like you got it easy. Or like when I was in Volkswagen, like, oh, can you get me in, mate?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, do you speak German? No. Oh, well, that's that, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not. It's also like it depends on what you chose to do with your life later on. If you're like, oh mate, I chose this, and I have no prospects in life. It's like, well,
Yeah.
decisions you take. Of course, it's about luck many times, but
Yeah, but you increase
your
your luck. You increase your opportunity for luck with the decisions you make.
you
right?
have to set
Exactly, yeah.
yourself up for success, mate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to work probably harder, like even harder. So
That's it. I mean, I can't relate fully, but I do relate to the when I was playing poker full time for a living. I do remember the first few years of that weren't pretty. You know, they weren't like, it wasn't like I was crushing and living the dream and you know, it was fucking hard. I was bad. You know, I'm playing. I mean, it's like any career where you go in at entry level. Almost,
you're
right?
always fresh.
Yeah, it's like I'm playing against people. I'm the new guy, right? In a competitive field where people I'm playing against have been playing for years, right? Some of them, and they're all a lot better than me. And I've got and I had to fight up the ranks, right, to play higher stakes and things like that. And
Especially in there, that must be like really brutal. That
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Oh, there's a new guy. Let's like smash him."
I remember literally like when I transitioned. This was even into my career, maybe 5-6 years where I was better, right? And I was playing heads up poker. Heads up means 1v1 basically, and I remember when every time I moved up stakes, so the buy-in that I would play for, every time I moved up to the higher stake buy-in, I would get sat by regs. And what that means, I don't want to really take too much of a detail, but what it means is the other professional players would sit in a heads-up game. What happens is you sit in a game and you wait, and then somebody sits with you and then you play that game. Excuse me, but how that traditionally works, all the professionals somewhat know each other. It's suboptimal to play against another professional because it's hard to win money off them.
Yeah.
So you likely the professional sits and then a recreational player sits against them to play them, right? And but I would sit and then all of this group of regs would just sit me. The other professionals would just sit me, and they were probably a bit better than me, but not enough. We were both losing. The fee of the game, the rake it's called, is killing us both. But they were just basically saying, "Fuck you! Don't play these stakes. Go back down." And one of the guys I talked to and actually became sort of friends with, he said, "Yeah, I sat you because you're taking a chunk out of my livelihood playing these games. These are my games." And basically, yeah, and that was that. And I remember it was tough, right? That was the point of this sort of story, and that people would say to me. I remember like I remember that, you know, I'd go shopping somewhere with my ex in like a middle of a Wednesday and whatever. I went to Ralph Lauren's store in an outlet store and I'm not that kind of guy. I don't shop a lot, and I might not buy clothes for 2 years, and then I'll go spend €1,000 on clothes, sort of thing. You know, it's kind of like that sort of thing.
In bulk, like once kind of thing.
I'll suddenly look at my wardrobe and go, oh, you know what, I really need some new jeans, and the next thing you know, I'll buy all my wardrobe for the next 2 years, sort of thing, right? So I went and did that one day. I bought like £1,000 worth of clothes, or whatever. And I remember the guy in the store that helped me was like, he weirdly asked me, he said, "If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for a living?" I said, "I'm a professional poker player, actually." And he was like, oh, cool. And he said, I wish I could do that. And he's like, "Oh, that's nice. I wish I could do that." And he's like, "Oh, just out. What? So you just decide to take the day off?" And I said, "Yeah, my girlfriend's got the day off work and decided to do some shopping." He's like, "Oh, what a life, eh? Yeah, I wish I could do that." And I sort of thought, I know he's trying to be polite, but I took it almost with offence of like, well, if you wish you could do it, you could then fucking do it, right? It wasn't gifted to me.
You just have to put some hours in.
Yeah, it's like I've been getting, you know, I've grinded and worked hard to do it. It was never easy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like so yeah, I sort of relate to that in that sense, where people would just say, you know, you don't mind when people make a joke of like, "Oh, what, it must be nice, what a life," you know, you just take the day off to go and play golf with your friend or have a beer or whatever. But yeah, it's definitely something where people think that you've got lucky in life as opposed to made good decisions.
The thing is that it doesn't. You always see the results, right?
Yeah.
No one sees what you did to get here, like, but I think that's true for everything. That's also why you have so many people kind of depressed because you open your Instagram, everyone's like having the life and like it's like mate,
partying,
but that's not all of it, right? Like maybe they're miserable and you're just seeing the nice part of the life, right? Like
for sure.
you never know.
And that's it. That's why like essentially like social media does a lot more harm than good in a lot of ways, right? It's just because all you do, all the girls on social media are thinking, oh god, I need to look like that. And I don't think the guys so much. I think guys are a bit like myself. I mean, we're not the best shaped dudes. We're not in the best shape of our lives.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, the camera makes us look good, doesn't it? But yeah. But you know what I mean? If you went on Instagram and there's some shredded dude with his shirt off, like I've never felt like, ugh. Why don't I do that? I don't. But I think
because you just stop eating and go to the gym.
Exactly. But you never feel like, oh, that's what you might maybe get a bit inspired every now and then by someone. Go, oh, you know what? I need to. I'll see a picture like that and I might eat chicken salad for one day and then I'll be like, yeah, and then give up the day after, right? So, but yeah, the harm in the sense of what girls see on the internet a lot more. Yeah, when they see all these Instagram models promoting beauty products and whatever, and it's like they look amazing, and the girls are like, oh, I don't look like that, that sort of thing. It's harmful, and I think for men, traditionally, it's more of a case of when you see this guy going, this fucking advert, it's like, hey, I just bought my third Lamborghini. You want to do what I do? Do you get those?
No, I don't think.
I think it must be because of the crypto and trading videos I watch on YouTube. You get.
I only watch like Spanish things. So
I get it all the time. But you know how YouTube caters your ads for what you.
I get a lot of these IT things that I'm just pissed because it's like I don't care about.
I just get constant scams basically, which basically they're bashing up. That shows that they're probably I'm an idiot because it would be like, hey, what's this? Oh, no, it's just my Lamborghini that I just bought. It's cringe as fuck.
Do you want to make money? Yeah. Buy my course to how to make money.
Yeah,
mate, sure, mate.
Dude, there's one man that I don't know why this advert is even a thing. It is like the worst one I've seen. It's like this guy walking down the street. He's like, hey, ma'am, can I have a moment of your time, please? I just want 1 second of your time. I promise it will have some shit like that, right? And the woman basically says like, not interested in that, and that leaves. Oh, he's had an error, but he's salvaged it. And the woman goes, I'm not interested, and sort of walks off, and then basically the guy it's the most cringe advert ever. Like, so woman turns him down for the like, let me help you, whatever, and he shrugs and he turns and he goes to his car, and his car's this like sports car. It's not even that nice of a sports car. That's where it's just like an average sort of sports car And some guy walks past and goes, hey, is that your car? And he goes, yeah, it is. Do you want one? And he's like, a thing like that? I couldn't afford one of those. And it's like the worst action you've ever seen. And the guy's like, hey, pop in here for a beer for me, and I'll tell you how you can get one of these. And it's like how does that work on anyone? Do you know what I mean?
But it does. It does. Like, there's a lot of people that are like, should I work myself? Like, should I work hard, learn a skill, and make more money on my own? No, I'll pay this guy. He'll tell me how to get rich. That's never gonna. If you have to pay someone to learn how to become rich, you won't become rich, mate. The only one getting rich there is the guy who's selling that curse.
It's like, you know what? I could work hard. I could figure out a niche. I could figure out. I could learn a set of skills to maybe to make some fortune in my life in some way, right? Or you know what? I think actually the answer would be YouTube. I'll just wait for an advert. There'll be an advert out there somewhere with the answer. So there it is. It's this guy. It's unreal how those adverts exist, basically.
I also have to say, if just out of principle, if I see an ad on YouTube about a product, no matter how good the product is, I'm not gonna buy it. It's like, if your ad is non-skippable, it lasts more than 5 seconds,
I can't stand that, yeah.
I will never fucking buy your product, no matter what it is. Even if you're selling water and you're the last person selling water in the world, it's like, nah, I'm checking out. I'm checking out, mate. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just so annoying. Sometimes you see this like non-skippable ad, 20 seconds, 30 seconds is like, for someone with ADHD, that's just hell, mate.
Sometimes it's two.
That's just sometimes it's two, no, man. And sometimes you get these like, I don't know. I don't pay the YouTube plus just out of principle kind of thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes I put it on the TV, right? Like, I open YouTube, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch this Mexican thing, like, because I watch a lot of comedy and stuff from Mexico. I rarely listen to Spanish otherwise, so
Yeah. Makes sense.
I put it there. I'm gonna wash the dishes. You have soap on your hands. You're like, it's like, there starts an ad, right? It's like, man, 30 seconds, 1 minute. I like the artist. They'll get money anyway. I'll just let it there. And you're like, it continues. You turn around. What the fuck?
2-minute ad, yeah.
30 minutes ad, mate. 30 minutes. You're like, 30 minutes. That's not an ad anymore. Who watches 30 minutes of an ad, mate?
That should be a crime.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's catered for those people like me who have it on the background. I cannot go on because I have soap and shit.
Yeah.
It's like 30 minutes ad.
It's a big payday, isn't it?
Fucking hell.
That's it. Like, on that note, like, the YouTube Premium, like, everyone who ever comes around my house and like, I'll put that video and I'll put it on there, like, a lot of the comments I'm getting recently, like, you don't have YouTube Plus or whatever. I'm like, fuck no. Why? I like you out of principle. I don't. I just think, like, no. Basically, and I watch. And the thing is,
I also make YouTube, so it's nice that people watch the.
Yeah, exactly. But I watch a lot of YouTube, right? So this is the point is sort of like valid. Like, I probably should have it, and Pete has it. So Pete pays for it, and a few of my.
I pay Spotify.
Pay Spotify. I think that's a must because like it's like every 4 songs that you get an ad.
Yeah,
right?
that's not.
And I want music to just flow, and I listen to a lot of music. So and I pay Spotify for sure.
Which I find insane because I've heard some podcasts. It doesn't happen very often, but I've noticed a couple of podcasts they have ads.
Can't stand that. Yeah.
I was like, mate, I'm paying you every month not to hear ads. I was like, oh yeah, but that's a different ad. I was like, mate, you're scamming me.
It is
this
brutal.
Is scam.
It is like, mate, it is ridiculous. I see the same thing. The podcast will be like, and what annoys me is when it's not even at the start. If they just do it at the start. Today's video is sponsored by such and such.
And don't get me wrong, if this gets big, there's gonna be ads.
Yeah. 30-minute ad income.
But it's a scam.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to skip those as well if you're paying.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
It's mental for sure. And the like
I pay a lot of those memberships, like, and more than I should. I pay this like Audible from Amazon.
Don't get me started on that.
It's brutal, mate, because I used to go to the gym a lot, and that's where I would listen to the audiobooks.
Yeah.
But nowadays I don't. I should do. Like, should go back, but like, I have like 100 tokens.
That's the problem, mate.
So,
I'm
like,
telling you.
And I don't have that much time.
Mate, Audible is a trap because I like audiobooks too, and I think Audible is a really good system. I liked it, right? You pay the 7-8 euros, whatever it was a month.
It's not 7-8 euros nowadays. I can tell you that it's like 15.
Fucking hell. Yeah. Well, I used to pay the £7. It was £7 a month, and I remember it went up to maybe £8. I was like, oh, that's a bit much, but I paid that, and you get 1 token every thing.
Plus a bunch of like the library's massive. Like
yeah. And I remember I got my dad onto it as well because my dad does a lot of driving, and it was like he loves an audiobook.
For that, that's a great. Like,
so he's like he's driving like 2 hours or whatever for a job or something, and when he used to travel for work like as a handyman, so he'd be like he'd get through loads of these like sci-fi novels he'd listen to and stuff like that. So it's cool. So he loved it, and I did the same. But it's one of those things where you do it, and then like you say, next thing you know, you've got like 7 or 8 credits just like back piled up, right, to spend, and then you want to cancel because it's like, oh, you know, I'm gonna.
But then you cannot hear your.
No. The worst thing for me, for what I tried to cancel was like, look, I want to cancel my subscription because I've got 7 tokens, and it just feels bad spending £7 or £8 every month getting a token that I keep not using and going, oh, I need to, you know, I need to find books to spend them on basically. And then they're like, they let me cancel. They're like, if you cancel, you lose all your credits.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is that legal that I've paid for these credits and then I want to cancel the subscription and you say, no, if you cancel your subscription, the previous 56, you got what, 8, you got 7 credits at £8 a piece. So you got £57 worth of credits sat in your box. Nah, fuck that. Your £56 can just go in the bin because it's like, you're trolling me. So I literally I'd go, fuck, I need to just find
7 books
or 7 books where it was and spend them, and I do that, and then and then I cancel. I'm like, fine. And then 6 months later, a book will come out that I really want to read or want to listen to, and I'll go, okay, go into Audible.
You can buy it for 34,
or so I subscribe, and then and I pay my £7 or £8 or whatever, and I get the book. And I leave that running by accident because I'm an idiot. And the next thing you know, I've got another 5 tokens.
Mate, now I have like 9 tokens. I just haven't used it, man. Because I used it when I was going to the gym. And I would read like 1 book a month for sure. And then I would take one from the free library or something. And plus the podcast, plus this, plus that. But yeah, nowadays...
It brings me on that read note there. It brings me onto like book snobs, where when if you read a book on Audible, right, and you say like, I don't know, let's just say like Game of Thrones. Bad example, but just to say like, oh, have you read Game of Thrones or Harry Potter? Let's go Harry Potter. It's a bit easier. It's like easier as an example. Let's just say someone says, oh, have you read Harry Potter? The Philosopher's Stone, I think it's the first one, right? I'm not even a Harry Potter fan, so just whatever. Anyway, Harry Potter, have you read it? And you're like, yes. And you're like, oh no. And the other person's like, no, but I listened to it on Audible. And then the person's like, no, that's not reading it. It's like, dude, why does
it is, man. I know what happened.
It's like the exact same words went into my head, just through my ears instead of my eyes.
I have ADHD. It's like, it's impossible for me. I used to read a lot, and nowadays it's impossible for me to grab a book. I have 2 books on my night table. I just haven't read, mate. I've had them there for like 2 hours, for 2 years probably. And one is like from poems. My brother gave it to me. It's like from a rapper, this Snatch. And mate, I read maybe half of it, and it's an excellent book.
Yeah,
it's like really good. I just don't. I will read the page over and over, and it just doesn't go in my head.
I'm similar. Like I used to read a bit as a kid. Like and I'm not a bad reader. Like my mum's a really good reader, and my granddad.
My mum too. That's why I read.
Yeah. And so like my mum and granddad, I always remember. Like my granddad, he just always had his head facing a book. Right, we'd go on holiday to Spain or something, and he'd go through 4 books on a week's holiday, that kind of thing.
That is weird.
Yeah, my mum's the same. Like, my mum's always got a book. She's got a massive library of books, and she loves to read, and she's got like book clubs on Facebook that and she loves it. It's all good like that, right? For me, I've read probably like a handful of proper books. I mean, I've read a lot of books, but like nowhere near the level of a bookworm type thing, right? But when I found Audible books, like audiobooks, I just you just get through a lot more. One thing I hate is the inefficiency of reading a book. Like the fact that I sit there and I have to read the book and I've got 10 pages, whereas I can't even listen to an audiobook in normal time. I have to listen to it in like plus 0.5
I cannot. I have the problem that I cannot do. That's why I think you have ADHD, mate. Like, you do all the same shit that I do, but I cannot play, for example.
You can't what?
We play video games.
Yeah.
It's very hard for me when we're talking and it's a bunch of us and like it's fine. But if I bought, for example, Red Dead Redemption, I cannot just sit and play.
Right.
I sit play, and then on the TV I have something else, or I have a podcast, or it's very hard for me to sit and do one thing.
Yeah.
I watch a movie with Petra, and then I'm on the phone watching TikTok or like reading Twitter or these kind of things, and I'm paying attention to both, and I know what's happening on the TV. I know what's happening, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very hard for me to sit and watch something or do one thing, or sit and, for example, listen to an audiobook. That would never happen either.
So I think I'm a bit different, where I'm not very good at doing more than one thing, but for example, I have that sort of ADHD tendency of, if I'm listening to sometimes I watch a YouTube video and I'm just like, the guy's talking too slow, I have to speed it up, and so I watch most things in an increased speed. And the worst thing about that is, right, if anyone who like listens or whatever, when you do that for the first time, you're going to think I'm an absolute psychopath, and you'll just go, this is horrendous, it sounds horrible.
Because you lose all the intonation and all those kind of, like, that's the nice part of an audiobook, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So I listen to podcasts in times, 1x, 1.5x. I listen to a lot of things because my brain just wants the information quickly. And the problem is, like I do, if you try it, you will think you'll go, this is fucking horrendous, basically. But the problem is, when you start doing it, you just can't undo it.
It's hard to go back.
It's hot. Like, it feels like life is in slow motion. You're just like, what is he? It's like a normal speed podcast sounds like just fucking horrible. Yeah.
When I went to the psychiatrist to get checked for the ADHD, here's the thing, man. Like, and this is something I've heard from a lot of people, because I'm somewhat successful in life. I've always done whatever the fuck I want. Mm-hmm. I managed to graduate. I managed to get I work in the tech field here in Finland, and with a pretty good job. My performance is pretty good. And then when you go to the psychiatrist, like, it's like, hey man, I think I have this, because I have problems like sitting. My working day, instead of being 7.5 hours, turns into 12, because I just don't work that much. I get distracted. I just don't work, so I have to put more hours to cover my time, kind of thing. It would be nice if we check if I have these, and then do something about it, because I want to work my 8 hours, not fucking 20, you know?
Yeah.
She was like, we talked a bit, and she was like, yeah, I doubt you have it, mate, because, like, you know, everyone has, these symptoms are normal for everyone. I doubt you have it, like, because, you know, like, you've done well in life and these kind of things, and, like, but let's see, like, we can go through it. And then she gave me a questionnaire. And the questionnaire is like 18 questions, 9 for the attention part, which is not really attention, it's like more executive function, and then 9 for the hyperactive part. And then when I went through it, I came back, we were talking, and she was like, yeah, let's go through it. And then she was asking me those same questions, but, like, explain. Because I was like, I cannot answer yes, no to these questions. It's like very...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And there, the question where I noticed she made a note, and then she basically was like, "Here, mate, you might have it." Like, and then she was like, after 9 questions, instead of not the 18, after 9, she was like, "Here you go, mate. Like, we're gonna try pills," because we're talking about that, and I was like, I don't remember what the question was, but I was telling her, like, when people speak, and you do the same, because, like, or I don't know if you do the same, but, like, I've noticed you kind of start speaking because you know what I'm gonna say, even if I haven't finished. For me, when people are talking, it's like, mate,
hurry up, sort of thing.
Hurry up! I already know what you're gonna say. Finish so I can start speaking, kind of thing. Yeah. And in my head, I already know you're halfway your phrase. In my head, I already know what you're gonna say, and I know what I'm gonna respond.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So, and I was telling her, like, she was like, do you try to complete people? Yeah, like, so you know, or, like, I kind of try to guess what you're gonna say, so I can have something to say back. Isn't that normal? I was like, no, it's not, mate. Like,
it's the worst because, like,
but that's why, I guess that's why you make make
it fast.
Because when I study for coding and stuff, that I buy a course or something, I do that. Because it's like, mate, I want to know.
Just
like,
one guy, and the thing is it like there are certain, I'm quite a fast speaker, and I should try and slow down a little, like, on the podcast, because I think you mentioned before, like, your mum heard something or whatever of me, and and she thought, she was like, I can't really understand him, he speaks too fast or something like that. And
she saw when we were doing the tasting,
yeah. So I speak a little quick for sure, especially if we had a few beers, like, it would just start flowing. And the issue is that I cannot stand. 90% of the YouTube I watch is, like, some form of, like, educational sort of type stuff. So I watch, obviously I bet sports for a living, and the sports. There's one sports betting guy that he's not, without being rude, I'm not going to name the guy because he's actually not even very good. Like, he doesn't. It's just. But I've just found his videos, right, and he does some of the very similar stuff that I do, which is interesting, and he makes videos about it. And I thought, I just want to curious what's out there, because I might start making some videos on that and that. Anyway, he's from England, and he seems like a lovely dude, but he speaks so incredibly slow, it's fucking painful. And it's just like, it's just unreal. It's just like, it is like I'm watching it in half speed, like, and I have to speed him up, and it's just so it's one of those things where, but then sometimes you get a bit bitten where, like, if we always have it on, like, a faster speed, and then suddenly you've got someone like me talking, and they just sound like the Eminem rapping kind of thing. It's just so it's but yeah, it's
a rough one. I
think we've had quite a long one so far.
I think so too.
So maybe we should just wrap it up there, and I think it's been good again, and I think we'll try and shoot another one for Friday.
I think so.
And we'll finally get these uploaded, because we haven't uploaded in a while. So yeah. Thank you everyone who did get this far.
I'm gonna say, this is not a paid sponsor. I finally I bought these brew cats. This is a thing in Finland. Like, I think they rent they don't have a brewery, but they collaborate a lot.
We have them in England as well.
My best, like, my favorite flavor is mandarin.
Yeah.
And my favorite soda in the world is this, like, Jarritos mandarin. It's fucking excellent, man.
Oh, they've got them in TNT.
Yeah, and mandarin is not a very famous, like, very common flavor.
Fruit,
but they do this seltzer. It's excellent, mate.
It is very good. I might have to steal another one off you.
If you do drinks of any kind, do mandarin. I don't know why there's not more mandarin in the world, mate.
Well, it'd be a happier place if there was, wouldn't it?
It would.
Yeah, I totally agree. They are actually amazing, and so I'll probably try and steal one off you before post-podcast recap, and we'll
Definitely.
But thank you, everyone, and we will endeavour to see you next week. Thank you very much. Peace.
See ya.